There's a type of person who finishes something they've worked toward for months, a degree, a promotion, a goal they bled for, and feels the good feeling for about 4 minutes. Then a quiet voice goes, "Okay, what's next?" No pause, no savoring. The finish line they spent a year chasing becomes the new starting line before they've even caught their breath. And they call this being driven, ambitious, high-achieving. But here's the question nobody asks them. If all this running is about getting somewhere, why does arriving never feel like anything? Why is the next goal already loading before the last one finished? Because maybe they were never running toward anything at all. Maybe they've been running away. And today we're going to find out from what. Here's what everyone gets wrong about the person who can't slow down. We assume they're chasing success, that the constant motion is about wanting more achievement, more money, more status, pulling toward a prize. But watch what actually happens when they're forced to stop. A free Sunday with nothing scheduled, a vacation where they're supposed to relax. Do they melt into peace? No. They get restless, twitchy, anxious. They should be doing something. They check email on the beach. They feel guilty for resting. That's the tell. If the running were really about chasing a reward, then stopping would feel like a break, a relief. Instead, stopping feels like a threat, which means the motion was never about reaching the prize. It was about not having to stop. Because something happens in the stillness that they'll do almost anything to avoid. Here's the mechanism underneath it. For a lot of chronic racers, constant motion isn't ambition, it's avoidance. Specifically, avoidance of themselves. Think about what actually happens the moment you go still. No task, no goal, no notification. In that silence, the things you've been outrunning finally catch up. The question of whether you're actually okay, the relationship you've been ignoring, the grief you never processed, the quiet fear that if you stopped achieving, you might not like what's left. Motion drowns all of that out. As long as you're busy, sprinting to the next thing, you never have to sit in the same room as those feelings. Being busy becomes a painkiller, and like any painkiller, the moment it wears off, the ache comes back. So you take another dose, another task, another goal, another sprint. This is why rest feels so unbearable to them. It's not laziness they're afraid of. It's what rest uncovers. Stillness lifts the noise, and suddenly you can hear everything you've been running from. The busyness isn't the goal, it's the earplugs. And there's a second trap layered on top, one that makes the whole thing self-perpetuating. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. Here's how it works. You believe the next achievement will finally do it. Once I get the promotion, once I hit the number, once I finish this, then I'll feel like enough. So you get there, and you feel great for a moment. Then something quietly brutal happens. Your baseline resets. The thing that was supposed to be the mountaintop becomes the new ground floor. What thrilled you last year is just normal now, and the target moves again, always just a little further than wherever you're standing. It's a treadmill. You're running hard, you're sweating, you're moving. But the scenery never changes because the finish line moves at exactly your speed. This is why high achievers can look at a life full of accomplishments and feel strangely empty. They keep reaching the place that was supposed to be enough, and it keeps not being enough because enough was never a place. It was a feeling they were trying to achieve their way into, and you cannot achieve your way out of a feeling. Now here's the part that should make you a little uncomfortable. Because we've met this person before, just wearing the opposite mask. Remember the procrastinator? The one who freezes, avoids, can't start. Because deep down, they're afraid that if they try their best, they'll find out they're not enough. The racer is running from the exact same fear. Not enough. But instead of freezing, they sprint. If I never stop achieving, I never have to face the possibility that underneath it all, I might not be enough. Same wound. Opposite symptom. One person can't start, the other can't stop, and both are running from the identical fear, just in different directions. But here's what's genuinely unfair. When the procrastinator avoids, the world calls them lazy, broken, told to fix themselves. When the racer avoids, through the exact same mechanism, the world calls them a hero, driven, successful. We hand them promotions and applause. The racer has found the one form of avoidance that society rewards, which makes it the most dangerous kind, because nothing ever forces them to stop and look. Everyone's clapping too loud. Why would you question the thing everyone praises you for? So if you recognize yourself here, always moving, allergic to stillness, what actually helps? It's not about becoming lazy or throwing away your ambition. Drive isn't the enemy. There's a real difference between running towards something you love and running away from something you fear, and they can look identical from the outside. The whole game is figuring out which one is driving you. And there's a surprisingly simple test. Sit still, do nothing on purpose for 10 minutes. No phone, no task, no plan. And just notice what shows up. Because if drive were really about ambition, stillness would feel fine. You'd just be resting between efforts. But if what floods in is anxiety, restlessness, a desperate itch to do something, that's your answer. That discomfort is the exact thing you've been outrunning, and it's information. It's pointing directly at whatever you haven't wanted to feel. You don't have to fix it all at once. You just have to stop sprinting long enough to hear what it's been trying to say. Because the feeling you refuse to face doesn't disappear when you run. It just waits and sets the pace. So let's go back to that person, feeling the good feeling for 4 minutes before the voice says, "What's next?" They were never lazy, and they were never truly satisfied either. Because they were never actually chasing the goal. They were using the goal as a reason to keep moving, so they'd never have to be still long enough to meet themselves. And here's the quietest, most uncomfortable truth of all. The finish line was never going to help. Because there is no achievement big enough to fill a hole that isn't achievement-shaped. The most radical thing a person like this can do isn't to accomplish more. It's to stop, to sit in the silence they've been terrified of, and to discover that the thing they were running from all along was never as unbearable as the running. But there's one more question hiding under all of this, because that fear, "I'm not enough," where does it even come from? You can't feel like you're falling behind in a vacuum. Behind who? Not enough compared to whom? That feeling only exists because you're constantly measuring yourself against someone else. And in a world of endless highlight reels, that someone is always winning. The race, the fear, the never enough. It all runs on one silent engine most of us never question: comparison. And next time, we're going to take that engine apart